Everything you've been told about winning a conflict is designed to keep you losing. Talk more, explain more, defend yourself, make them understand your side. That's what you were taught your entire life. And every single time you did that, you handed your power away. Willingly. On a silver platter. Because here is what nobody ever told you. The most powerful thing you can ever say is nothing. Not because silence is passive. Not because silence is weak. But because silence, deployed with precision, does something to the human brain that no argument, no comeback, no perfectly crafted sentence ever could. It activates a primal threat response. And the person on the receiving end begins to destroy themselves. It will take less than 20 minutes of this video, and the way you move through every conflict, every confrontation, every power struggle in your life will never be the same again. But in my experience, only 20% of the viewers will reach the end to get the full value out of this video. Let's talk about what is actually happening inside someone's brain the moment you go quiet on them. Deep inside the brain sits a small almond-shaped cluster of neurons called the amygdala. Think of it as the brain's smoke detector. Its only job, 24 hours a day, is to scan the environment for threats and fire the alarm. Now here is where it gets extraordinary. Research out of Purdue University found that social exclusion, being ignored, being cut off, being met with silence from someone who matters, activates the exact same brain regions as physical pain. The part of the brain that registers the pain from a punch to the jaw lights up in exactly the same way when someone simply stops responding to you. Scientists call this the social pain overlap theory. And what it means in plain language is this. Your silence hurts people. Neurologically, biologically, like an open wound. But that is only half of the mechanism. When the amygdala detects a threat and cannot identify it, cannot locate the source, cannot predict what comes next, it enters what neuroscientists call a hypervigilance loop. The brain begins generating worst-case scenarios entirely on its own. It fills in every blank. It replays every recent conversation. It audits every interaction, searching desperately for meaning inside your silence. And almost always, it finds the worst possible meaning. This creates mental stress when things don't make sense. The human mind cannot stand unclear situations. It is wired to resolve uncertainty at almost any cost, including torturing itself with imagined catastrophes. You said nothing, but inside their head, you said everything. Now layer on top of that what decades of attachment research reveals. People who worry a lot about their close relationships, and that's a big part of the population, see silence from someone they care about as a direct threat to their emotional safety. Stress hormones flood the body. The nervous system goes into high alert. Thinking becomes twisted, obsessive, and harmful to themselves. You did not argue. You did not attack. You did not even raise your voice. You simply withdrew, and their own brain did the rest of the work for you. This is the silence weapon. And right now, let's get into exactly how to use it. Let's start at the foundation, because most people are confusing two completely different things, and that confusion is costing them everything. There is reactive silence, and there is strategic silence. Reactive silence is what happens when you are overwhelmed, blindsided, or simply do not know what to say. It is defensive. It is accidental. And the other person can feel it radiating off you like heat. They read your discomfort. They sense the scramble behind your eyes. And they use it against you without hesitation. Strategic silence is something entirely different. It is a calculated decision. Chosen, not stumbled into, calm, not panicked, owned completely. And the difference in how the other person's brain interprets these two silences is the difference between bleeding out and winning. One signals weakness. The other signals power so quiet and so deep that it unsettles people at a level they cannot explain. From this moment forward, every silence you use will be chosen, deliberate, yours. There are 5 levels to strategic silence. We will cover them level by level, starting with the first one right now. Now let's move into level 1. And this one works in real time, right in the middle of any conversation, any confrontation, any moment someone thinks they have you rattled. Activate the strategic pause. Most people respond immediately when they are challenged, criticized, or provoked. Immediately. The words are barely out before the defense is already firing. That is exactly what the other person is counting on. A fast, reactive response tells their brain one thing: this person can be rattled. This person is running on emotion, not on control. This person is mine. But when you pause, a real pause, 3 to 5 full seconds of unbroken, unhurried silence before you respond, something in the room shifts. Their amygdala registers an unexpected pattern break. The response they anticipated did not arrive on schedule. And in that gap, that small, devastating gap, their confidence wavers. Many experience a sudden, uncomfortable uncertainty even when they were the ones who initiated the challenge. The ground under their feet becomes slightly less solid. Here is what this looks like in a real situation. Your coworker Marcus throws a passive-aggressive comment at you in a meeting. I just think some people don't fully understand the full scope of this project. He is looking directly at you. Everyone in that room is watching. The old version of you scrambles, defends, explains, stumbles, and every word out of your mouth makes Marcus feel more in control. The new version of you simply looks at him, still, relaxed, silent, for 5 seconds that feel, to everyone in that room, like 50. Then, with total unhurried control, you respond with exactly what you choose to say, or you say nothing at all and let the silence finish the job. The room felt the transfer of power. Marcus felt it. You did not win by fighting. You won by not needing to. Your micro-action right now: deploy the 5-second pause in the very next conversation that challenges you. Feel how uncomfortable it is at first. Then watch the other person's behavior in that gap. What you notice will change how you think about communication forever. Now let's go deeper, one level further, because the strategic pause is just the entry point. Let's unlock level 2. Deploy the controlled withdrawal. This is where the real psychological weight lives. Strategic withdrawal means removing your presence, your responses, your attention, your energy, your availability for a defined intentional period of time. Not out of anger, not to punish anyone, as a deliberate recalibration of the dynamic between you and another person. Here is the neuroscience behind why this hits so hard. The human brain is wired for social connection at a survival level. Consistent access to a valued person is seen by the brain's emotion center as a form of safety and stability. When that access is suddenly, quietly reduced, with no explanation, no drama, no announcement, the brain's emotion center reads it as a danger signal, not an annoyance, a threat. Machiavellian strategists have understood this mechanism for centuries. Robert Greene documented it directly. Use absence to increase respect and honor. When you are always available, always present, always the one who responds first, you become predictable. And what the brain can predict, it stops actively valuing. Withdrawal disrupts the pattern. It creates scarcity. And scarcity, at the psychological level, inflates perceived value almost automatically. Here is what this looks like when applied. Someone in your circle, a friend, a colleague, someone you have been giving a great deal of your time and energy, has gradually started taking your presence for granted. Responses have become slow. Effort has become one-sided. The dynamic has flatlined. You do not confront them. You do not explain. You do not make an announcement. You simply become less available. You slow your responses. You decline 1 or 2 invitations without over-explaining. You reduce your presence quietly and without drama. Within a short window, often days, many people notice a distinct shift. The other person becomes more attentive, more present. The energy changes. The tone adjusts, because at the unconscious level, their brain registered your withdrawal as a warning that something they had was being quietly removed. And the brain will move to recover what it senses it is losing. Your micro-action. Identify one relationship right now where your availability has significantly outpaced the reciprocal value coming back. Pull back 10%. No explanation. No signal. Just reduce. And then observe, without attachment to the outcome. Now let's advance to level 3, because silence inside a direct, heated conflict is its own advanced discipline. Weaponize the dead air. When someone comes at you, arguing, even accusing, emotionally escalating, they have built their entire strategy around your reaction. Every raised voice, every sharp word, every emotional grenade being thrown at you is engineered to extract a response. Because without your response, their attack has nowhere to land. The moment you give them that reaction, you are playing the game on their field by their rules. The dead air technique strips them of their field entirely. When the emotional assault begins, you go quiet. Not visibly cold, not dramatically frozen. Not performing stillness, simply present, breathing, unrattled, and saying absolutely nothing. What happens next is one of the most fascinating psychological events you will ever witness in real time. The other person begins filling the silence themselves. They repeat their point louder, hoping repetition will extract a reaction. They escalate. They start explaining their own anger back to themselves. They begin justifying. Backtrack, and in doing so, they hand you the narrative, while you never once had to fight for it. Beyond that, studies show that one person's calm body state can start to influence another person's stressed state. Your stillness starts to calm down their emotional spiral, often without them realizing it is happening. You did not argue, you did not defend, you did not explain. And you won. Now this next one is level 4, which makes it the most quietly lethal technique in this entire arsenal. Silence your face. Most people have never considered this. The word stop. The voice goes quiet. But the face keeps talking. Research by the FBI on tiny facial expressions, started by scientist Paul Ekman, showed that the human face shows real feelings in quick automatic flashes that last only fractions of a second. A micro tightening around the eyes. A subtle flicker of fear before the calm expression lands. A momentary flash of contempt that disappears almost instantly. Those leaks, those invisible fractions of a second, they completely destroy the power of your silence. Because the other person's brain, operating below their conscious awareness, reads those leaks fluently. They feel that your silence is fragile, that underneath it, something is rattled. And that feeling, even if they cannot name it, gives them permission to keep pressing. The goal is to have a calm and neutral face, not a blank stare that reads as hostility or performance. A genuinely calm, slightly open, relaxed face, the expression that communicates without a single word that nothing happening right now is registering as a threat. Here is your practice. Stand in front of a mirror. Hold a calm, neutral expression for 60 full seconds while vividly imagining a scenario that would normally provoke a visible reaction in you. Do this daily. Brain science confirms that through repetition, the connection between an emotional trigger and the automatic facial response can be changed by the brain's natural ability to rewire itself. The brain literally restructures itself with consistent practice. What once leaked stops leaking. And finally, level 5. Because silence without a re-entry strategy is simply disappearing, here is how you break it. Recalibrate your re-entry. The moment you choose to speak again or to re-engage after a period of withdrawal is the highest leverage point in the entire sequence. It is the moment that either confirms or collapses everything your silence built. Most people waste this moment entirely. They over-explain. They apologize for the silence. They rush to fill the air with words to ease their own discomfort. And in doing so, they retroactively hand back every ounce of power the silence accumulated. Your re-entry must be calm, brief, unhurried. You speak when you have something worth saying. You return when you have chosen to return, not when the pressure inside you reached a breaking point. Imagine this. Marcus from the meeting approaches you afterward, trying to smooth things over. He is more careful now, more deliberate. He is operating on a different frequency than he was 2 hours ago. You respond with a warm, measured 2 or 3 sentences. Then you return, naturally, to whatever you were doing. You have just confirmed, without announcing it, the power frame that your silence installed. He will carry this interaction with him far longer than any argument would have left a mark. The re-entry should feel like the silence was never awkward for you, because strategically, it never was. Now here is how you know this is working. The test is clean and simple. Deploy any one of these techniques: the strategic pause, the controlled withdrawal, the dead air, the neutral face, in one real interaction this week. Then observe the other person's behavior in the 24 to 72 hours that follow. Many who apply this report noticing a measurable shift, increased attentiveness, more careful language directed at them, a subtle but unmistakable recalibration of how the other person moves around them. That shift is your verification. Now, your 7-day challenge. Days 1 and 2. Deploy only the strategic pause. Every conversation that challenges you. Feel the discomfort of the gap, then observe. Days 3 and 4. Practice the calm, neutral face. Mirror work. 60 seconds minimum each day. No skipping. Days 5 and 6. Identify one relationship and execute the 10% controlled withdrawal. No explanation. Just reduce and observe. Day 7. Sit with everything you noticed. Write it down if you can. What shifted? What surprised you? What confirmed what you already felt but could never name? Then come back here and tell me. One final word, because this knowledge carries real weight. Strategic silence, used with self-awareness and integrity, is a tool of protection, of dignity, of recovering power that has been quietly taken from you over time, but used recklessly, deployed against people who are vulnerable, people who are in genuine pain, people who need real connection. It inflicts the same neurological wound you just learned about. The mechanism does not care about your intentions. It works regardless. The line between someone who uses silence to protect their own sovereignty and someone who uses it to control punish, and isolate others is intention. Know yours. Comment below the one technique you are going to deploy first. The pause, the withdrawal, the dead air, the face, the re-entry. Bookmark this video. Come back in 7 days and tell me what changed.